fighting for us all. Liberty's the answer, now hear the call. Go right with Peter Boykin, we're gonna stand strong. Go right with Peter Boykin. Truth in the news, you know he's not joking. Get your facts straight, it's the Liberty Vibe on Go Right News. We're keeping it alive. From the Constitution to the podcast grind, Peter Boykin's got the facts you'll find. Righteously free, it's a truth rewind. Tune in and you'll see it's a freedom kind. Go right with Peter Boykin. Truth in the news, you know he's not joking. Get your facts straight, it's the Liberty Vibe on Go Right News. We're keeping it alive. He's got the story, he's got the fight, bringing you the truth, day and night. For liberty's sake, we're taking flight. Go right with Peter Boykin, it's feeling right. Go right news. With Peter Boykin, we're making moves. Freedom and liberty, always on the rise. Tune into the truth and open your eyes. Reel it on the roof with Peter Boykin. We're making moves. Freedom and liberty, always on the rise. Tune in to the truth and open your eyes.
Do right, think right, go right, be right. Go right, let's make the world great, great again. Tune in to Go Right News, let freedom begin. Go right, let's make the world great again. Tune in to Go Right News, let freedom begin.
Welcome to Hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin, where we uphold the values of our constitutional republic. Did you know that the bald eagle is not our national bird? Despite adorning our great seal since 1782, no one officially made it so until now. Congress passed a bill to make the bald eagle the national bird of the United States. Congratulations, you majestic harbinger of freedom. Now, if we could just make English the official language of America, we'll do great. So let's dive into news that truly shapes our republic. We'll be right back with Hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin. Remember, we fight for what's right because it's time to go right.
Time to go right. Time to go right. Time to go right.
In a dramatic turn in our nation's capital, a last-minute spending bill was torpedoed by President-elect Donald Trump and Elon Musk, alongside conservative lawmakers. The bill, a massive 1,547-page document, was criticized for its lack of transparency and for including provisions that many see as contrary to conservative principles. And a lot of pork, folks, a lot of pork. And to let you know, this news is ever changing. So by the time you hear this, the news has probably changed. And if it hasn't, the lights are off in the Capitol building. Bring the shutdown on, as well as I'm concerned. But if not, they'll find some way to kick the can down the road a little bit, at least until Donald Trump's in office, and then the Democrats will blame Donald Trump. Now, Trump's stance on Truth Social was clear. Quote, Republicans must get smart and tough. If Democrats threaten to shut down the government unless we give them everything they want, then call their bluff. Musk echoed the sentiment on X, Twitter, advocating that for no bills to pass until Trump's inauguration, which some people are like, oh my God, Musk, shut up. Nobody elected you. We don't want a shadow president. Yeah, well, Musk is running DOGE, the Department of Government Expenditures or evaluations or whatever it is to cut the budget in a good way. That bill included excessive spending. Vivek Vamswari highlighted $380 billion in new spending, self-serving provisions, pay raises, and new health benefits for Congress members alongside protection from federal subpoenas. We'll talk about it a little bit later. Censorship concerns, continued funding for the Global Engagement Center, accused of funding censorship against conservative media. Unrelated expenditures, funding for a new football stadium in Washington, D.C., public health overreach, expansion of the Pandemic and All Hazards Preparedness Act, potentially allowing for mandates and research that could compromise individual liberties. Elon Musk celebrated the bill's demise, stating, your elected representatives have heard you, and now the terrible bill is dead. The voice of the people has triumphed. Vox populi, vox Dei. With the government funding, I'm sure I pronounced that wrong, but with the government funding deadline looming, a clean continuing resolution is being considered to push contentious issues to the next administration. Now, here's an opinion. The situation underscores a broader crisis in our constitutional republic where legislative transparency and conservative values are at stake. Speaker Johnson's strategy, whether from naivety or negotiation, has been questioned. But he come through and he said, maybe we should skip that, because he knows when Donald Trump takes office, Donald Trump can say, you can get them out, and they'll do something about it. Meanwhile, Republicans announced a last-minute funding deal to stave off shutdown, but unclear if it's passed. It can pass, and I don't think it did. In a scramble to avoid government closure, House Republicans proposed a new funding plan after Trump disapproved of the original. This new measure includes or excludes the controversial pay raises for Congress and pharmaceutical reforms. However, its passage remains uncertain, with conservative factions expressing reluctance. Pay raises for Congress, the monster CR bill has the political right up in arms. The proposed continuing resolution included provisions for congressional pay raises, igniting fury or heat, whatever, among conservatives who argue this is an inappropriate use of taxpayer money, especially without addressing critical spending reforms. But I got to give you this FYI, folks. For those complaining about Congress trying to get a pay raise, it's been since 2009 since their last raise. Would you like to work about 24/7 without a pay raise for that many years, especially with the cost of living going through the roof, even if it's partially their problem? Plus, it's becoming increasingly dangerous to be a legislature, and they're not paying for these people's security. Remember, Congress members don't get government-funded travel or housing while in D.C. A lot of that probably has to do with their campaign funding, but in the end, they're having to get funds from people, and they're not getting it from us. They're getting from big business and big whatever it is to fund all this, because there's so much money in politics. The last time members of Congress received a pay raise was in 2009. It is now 2014. 5 years. And I don't even think it was that big of a pay raise. However, a provision in a recent spending bill, if passed, would mark their first pay raise, potentially boosting their salary up 3.8% or $6,600 for 2025. Also, though, when they run for office, because it's a 10% percentage of their salary, it actually increases it to make it harder for you to actually run for office because it's going to cost more money for you to run for office. So it's a catch-22 kind of thing. Here's a video to talk about it. It might not agree fully with my opinion, but here's some more information from the Daily Caller Shorts.
A 1,500-page continuing resolution has everyone upset. I mean, look at this thing. Mr. Doge himself, Vivek, took to TikTok to slam the bill.
Congress is about to pass a bill that blows away your taxpayer money, but they made it over 1,500 pages long so you wouldn't read it. I did you a favor. I read it for you. It's supposed to be about keeping government operations open and providing disaster relief aid to hurricane victims, which I'm sympathetic to. But if you read the bill carefully, it contains pay raises for members of Congress, and I'm not making this up, an expansion of their federal health benefits. It contains all kinds of special interests and pork funding, including opening up a new stadium in Washington, D.C. It renews the Global Engagement Center, which is a key node of the censorship industrial complex. And the worst part is, they didn't want you to know about any of it, and that's why they made this a last-minute jam job. The reason I'm co-heading Doge is I think we need outsiders to bring actual accountability to Washington, D.C. So feel free to call your congressman and let him know how you feel about it.
The other Doge king, Elon, has been posting on X about it basically non-stop. Several congressmen have spoken out against it as well.
It's a total dumpster fire. I think it's garbage. This is what Washington, D.C. has done. This is why I ran for Congress, to try to stop this. And sadly, this is happening again.
It's opposite of what the Doge Commission is trying to do. Am I voting for it? No, I'm not.
Swamp's going to swamp, right? 1,400 pages. Still haven't seen the text. Multiple subject matters. Since we've been given the majority again, we're adding $330 billion in literally totally unpaid for additional deficit spending just since November 5th in 45 days. I don't see how that's doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Everybody's packing in what they want here and there and using the pressure and the situation of the government shutdown. Of course, tragically, farmers are being dangled. Americans that suffered through natural disasters, they're being dangled with disaster relief. And I think that's incredibly unfair.
Meanwhile, Speaker Mike Johnson is out defending this monstrosity.
You know who also does not like this? Elon Musk, the world's richest man, just tweeted, this bill should not pass. The only way you're going to be able to pass it now, Mr. Speaker, is with Democrats. What's your message to Elon Musk?
Well, I was communicating with Elon last night. Elon and Vivek and I are on a text chain together. And I was explaining to them the background of this. And Vivek and I talked last night about almost midnight. And he said, look, I get it. He said, we understand you're in an impossible position. Everybody knows that. Remember, guys, we still have just a razor-thin margin of Republicans. So any bill has to have Democrat votes. They understand the situation. They said, it's not directed to you, Mr. Speaker, but we don't like the spending. I said, guess what, fellas? I don't either. We got to get this done because here's the key. By doing this, we are clearing the decks and we are setting up for Trump to come in roaring back with the America First agenda.
But hey, at least our favorite members of Congress will get a pay raise out of it.
Members are giving themselves a pay raise. Do you guys deserve a pay raise?
Well, that's news to me. It's good news. You know, what has it been, 10 years or 14 years and no COLA, no change at all? I think it's about time something's done.
You support giving yourselves a pay raise?
How would I not know about a pay raise?
But I mean, people look at the performance of Congress and say, why should we give them more money?
What about the media? Think about that for a second.
And we're not paid by public money.
I know you're not, but I mean, half of your listeners are not there anymore. You're still getting the same paycheck? What's going on?
In a twist that has caught the attention of political watchers across the nation, President-elect Donald Trump, known for his often contentious relationship with progressive politicians, extended an olive branch to Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, via Truth Social. Following AOC's unsuccessful bid for the top Democrat role on the House Oversight Committee, Trump posted, quote, really too bad that AOC lost the battle for the leadership seat in the Democrat Party. She should keep trying. Someday she will be successful. This statement from Donald Trump who has previously engaged in verbal spats with AOC, was unexpected, given their historical opposition on numerous policy fronts. AOC, quick to leverage the moment for her narrative, responded on X with a mix of humor and pointed commentary, saying, "Damn, you know it's bad when even Trump is feeling bad for me." This response not only showcased her ability to engage with her followers through self-depreciating humor, but self-deprecating humor, but also subtly acknowledged the political irony of receiving sympathy from one of her biggest critics. And here's the political dynamics at play. Nancy Pelosi's influence. Behind the scenes, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, slip and break your hip after getting woozy, played a significant role in the leadership vote. Her support was crucial for Representative Jerry Connolly, who ultimately secured the position with 131 votes against AOC's 84. Pelosi's influence within the Democrat Party remains formidable, and her actions could be seen as part of a broader strategy to maintain a more centrist or traditional leadership over progressive elements like AOC. Then again, I don't know. Sometimes I think AOC makes sense, but who am I to judge? Intra-party tension. This episode underscores the ongoing tension within the Democratic Party between its progressive wing and more established moderate members. Saying Nancy Pelosi is moderate, I don't even know. AOC's bid was seen by many as an attempt by progressives to gain a more influential positions within the party's hierarchy, potentially shifting its direction on key issues like climate change, healthcare, and social justice. Folks, climate change, I don't believe in the stupid word. There is environmental changes. There is things that we do to the planet that used to be environmentalism, used to be something that Republicans would take for. Healthcare is definitely something that we all need. And the way they put social justice, the way they say social justice, always ends up being wrong, but advocating for people who are poor and need help, that's putting America first. So it's not always all bad. It's the way you package the wording. Trump's strategy. Trump's comments can be interpreted in various ways. On the surface, it appears as a gesture of goodwill or perhaps an acknowledgement of AOC's resilience and potential. However, from a strategic standpoint, it serves multiple purposes, highlighting division. By publicly acknowledging AOC's loss, Trump might be aiming to draw attention to the internal divisions within the Democrat Party, portraying it as a disorganized or ineffective. As a Republican, I can say the same thing kind of goes for the Republican Party a lot of times as well. Appealing to moderates, Trump's tone could be an attempt to appeal to moderate voters or even some Democrats by showing he can be magnanimous, perhaps softening his image as a polarizing figure, even though they've made Donald Trump this polarizing figure, even though I think Donald Trump has always appealed to the moderates. That's why he won and took over the blue wall for the red wall. All the swing states went Trump. Why? Because he appeals to moderates. Constitutionalists for liberty, like myself. Setting the stage, this could be a tactical move to set the stage for future political battles where he might use such moments to critique Democrat leadership or policy directions. Well, you should have went with AOC. I thought AOC would have done a great job. She could have made a little bit of a change, more of a progressive change. I'm doing a horrible Donald Trump. All right, so opinion. Trump's comments, while similarly supportive, might also be seen as a strategic move to highlight division or perceived weakness within the Democratic ranks. His acknowledgement of AOC's defeat could be less about genuine support and more about political chess, using that 3D chess, using the situation to his advantage by making Democrats appear fragmented or leaderless. For AOC, this interaction also serves to bolster her image as a fighter within her party, someone who can take both criticism and support in stride, reinforcing her appeal among her base. This kind of reminds me a long time ago where I did confront AOC. I don't know who was writing her account, but she responded back to me. I responded back to her, but then somebody wrote an article about, AOC delivers a smackdown to Peter Boykin, even though, Wasn't really an argument. This scenario reflects the nuanced dance of American politics, where every gesture, comment, or social media post can be layered with multiple meanings, each serving the chess game of political positioning in our constitutional republic. Watch as MSNBC is lashing out against Nancy Pelosi for tanking AOC's attempt to rise in power. Watch this video.
Jerry Connolly won that vote today. And he did so thanks in part to former Speaker Nancy Pelosi whipping votes for him. Now, again, to her credit, enormous credit, Pelosi did choose to step aside and relinquish her job as House Minority Leader to a new generation of leadership. She also played an enormous role in the successful effort to push Joe Biden to step aside this summer, which was very hard to do and I think the right thing to do. But now Pelosi whipped votes to make sure that Connolly got the oversight job over the young star in the party, even as the 84-year-old Pelosi is recovering from hip surgery after suffering a fall. It feels like a moment of genuine madness.
And a pivotal decision with significant implications for the legal proceedings against President-elect Donald Trump in Georgia. That's Georgia in the United States, not in the whole world. An appellate court has disqualified Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis from continuing her role in prosecuting Donald Trump and his co-defenders for alleged election interference. This disqualification stems from Willis's relationship with Nathan Wade, a special prosecutor she appointed, which the court found created an appearance of impropriety during the critical stages of deciding whom to prosecute and what charges to bring. The court's ruling, disqualification, the Georgia Court of Appeals in a 2-1 decision ruled that Judge Scott McAfee of the Fulton County Superior Court erred by not disqualifying Willis and her office initially, given the conflict of interest presented by her relationship with Wade. This decision not only removes Willis, but also her entire office from the case, arguing that no remedy short of disqualification could restore public faith in the judicial process. This is the case's status. Despite the significant blow to the prosecution, the underlying charges against Donald Trump and his co-defendants remain intact. They're still zombieing around. The indictment has not been dismissed, keeping the case alive, but in a state of uncertainty. And what are the next steps? The task of finding a replacement prosecutor now falls on Pete Skandalowski. Skandalowski. I don't forget it. The executive director of the Prosecuting Attorneys Council of the state of Georgia. Under Georgia law, when a district attorney is disqualified, that scandalous, whatever, has several options. Appoint a current member of the Prosecuting Attorneys Council, select a competent attorney outside the council, or request to appoint another district attorney, solicitor general, or a retired prosecuting attorney. That same S word has previously navigated similar waters when Willis was disqualified from another investigation due to a conflict of interest. Wow, there's a pattern. His comments to NBC News earlier highlighted the challenge of finding a neutral party in a case of entangled with politics, acknowledging that while politics would play a role, the aim would be to find someone who could base decisions purely on available evidence. Good luck with that. The zombie prosecution continued legal limbo with Willis out. The case now resembles a zombie prosecution. Must prosecute Trump. Must prosecute Trump. Still technically alive, but without the original prosecutor to give it direction. This situation poses it never had a brain to begin with. This situation poses a unique challenge, as whoever takes over will need to review the existing evidence and decide whether to proceed with the current charges or potentially dismiss them. Here's some potential outcomes. The new prosecutor could choose several paths: continue the prosecution, proceed with the charges as they stand, which might mean navigating through political and legal minefields, modify charges, adjust the scope or nature of the charges based on a fresh review, dismiss, opt to drop the case. That's what they should do. That's what they should. If they believe it lacks merit or pursuing it would not serve the justice or public interest, yet drop the case. It's stupid. appeals and delays. Willis could appeal the appellate court's decision to the Georgia Supreme Court, further delaying proceedings. Given that all the justices in the Georgia Supreme Court were appointed by Republican governors, the outcome of such an appeal remains uncertain. Tough luck, tough cookie, said the biddy with the cow don't drink, or something like that. The opinion of my opinion. So this case serves as a stark reminder of the complexities involved when legal proceedings interact or intersect with high-profile political figures. The disqualification of Willis due to a perceived conflict of interest underscores the critical need for transparency and ethical conduct in legal pursuits. It highlights the delicate balance between prosecutorial discretion and personal relationships, which, when mishandled, can undermine public trust in judicial outcomes. The saga of this prosecution now hinges not just on legal merits, but on the integrity of the legal justice system itself. It calls into questions how our constitutional republic manages to ensure justice is not only done, but is seen to be done, especially in cases that could influence national political landscapes. The appointment of new prosecutor will be a litmus test for the impartial application of law, emphasizing the necessity for accountability at every level of legal proceedings. Watch as MSNBC legal analyst lays out what likely happens next after Fani Willis was booted from the Donald Trump case.
Barbara, how crippling is this to the case, removing DA Fani Willis from the entire case?
Yes, I think this is a real blow for the prosecution. Of course, this is a decision by the Georgia Court of Appeals. I imagine that Willis will appeal it to the Georgia Supreme Court before any other action is taken. But make no mistake, this is a terrible blow to the prosecution. On the one hand, the decision says, despite Georgia law that says ordinarily we do not remove a prosecutor for merely an appearance of a conflict of interest. We require an actual conflict of interest. The court here said, but we're going to make a rare exception in this case because it's so important. The dissenting judge really goes off on that to say that this is exactly why we have rules, so that even in important cases we follow them. But if this stands, the court here said she's disqualified, but the indictment remains intact. What we will see is what we saw in the case of one of the defendants, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, who you may recall, Fani Willis had held a fundraiser against his opponent and was disqualified from that case. That sent the whole case out of her office, because if a prosecutor is disqualified, her whole office is disqualified. That means it goes to a central Georgia coordinating council where it's decided whether the case will go further. And in that case, the director of that organization said the case against Burt Jones should go no further. And I would expect we may see the same result with this RICO prosecution.
The landscape of artificial intelligence, AI, and its intersection with free speech has taken a concerning turn, according to a newly released report by the U.S. House Judiciary Committee and its Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government, titled, quote, Censorship's Next Frontier, the Federal Government's Attempt to Control Artificial Intelligence to Suppress Free Speech. Phew, long document name. This document sheds light on what it perceives as a dangerous trend of using AI not for innovation, but for enhancing government censorship capabilities. Key points of the report. AI as a tool of censorship. The report argues that AI, instead of being harnessed for its potential to innovate, is being manipulated by the Biden-Harris administration to control the narrative and suppress dissenting voices online. It points out that AI has been funded and developed to automate and scale up censorship efforts, particularly under the guise of combating disinformation or misinformation. Yeah. Like TikTok taking down me for misinformation, where I talked about January 6th having FBI informants that everybody and their mother has talked about, including the left-wing sources. Yeah, okay. Government pressure on AI developers. There's a detailed critique of how the administration has allegedly pressured AI developers to integrate censorship mechanisms into their models. This pressure has come from executive orders, regulatory threats, and funding conditions, suggesting that AI companies might comply out of fear of regulatory retaliation. Funding and research. The report highlights the use of federal grants, particularly through the National Science Foundation, NSF, to fund research to create AI tools for content moderation. This includes projects under programs like Track F, which are accused of having political motivations to silence conservative viewpoints or narratives critical of government actions. Let me remind you, our First Amendment to the Constitution states we have the freedom of speech. And that usually means freedom of speech from the government being involved in squashing our free speech. So if the government is sponsoring AI to take away our speech, then it's a direct violation of our U.S. Constitution. Legislative recommendations. To counteract these trends, the committee proposes several legislative measures. Non-interference and algorithmic decisions. The government should not involve itself in decisions about what constitutes misinformation or bias within private algorithms or data sets. Ban on funding censorship research, prohibiting federal funding for research that leads to censorship or collaboration with foreign entities on AI regulation that might result in speech suppression. Avoiding overregulation. Legislation should prevent the government from using AI regulations as a tool to exert coercive leverage over companies. Vision for AI development. The report envisions an AI environment that is open, decentralized, and pro-freedom, where technology serves to expand knowledge and expression rather than to curtail it. Now, here's an opinion. The weaponization of AI for censorship is a profound threat to the constitutional rights enshrined in our republic, particularly the First Amendment's protection of free speech. This development is alarming because it represents a shift from AI being a harbinger of progress to a tool of control. Threat to free speech. By automating content moderation, there's a risk of silencing legitimate discourse under the pretext of managing misinformation. This not only chills free speech, but also stifles the marketplace of ideas, which is vital for a healthy democracy or republic, whatever you want to call it. The need for oversight. The situation underscores the urgent need for vigilant oversight. The government's role should be ensuring that AI development adheres to principles of transparency, accountability, and respect for individual liberties, rather than become an enforcer of a particular political narrative. Innovation versus control. AI has the potential to revolutionize numerous sectors with benefits like enhanced healthcare, better education, and more proficient public services. However, if its development is steered towards censorship, we risk losing these opportunities for national and global advancement. So there's a call for legislative action. The recommendations for new legislation are a step in the right direction, but they need to be robustly supported by both sides on the political spectrum to ensure they're not just partisan tools, but genuine protections for free speech in the digital age. The conversation around AI must pivot from control back to innovation, ensuring that this powerful technology serves the public interest and upholds the democratic or republic values of our constitutional republic. Without such a shift, we risk eroding the very freedoms that AI could, in a free environment, help to protect and expand. And here's 3 quick videos. I'm going to give you the headlines of it. It's the shocking truth about AI censorship revealed, what they didn't want you to know. That's by Elon Musk. Then we have the UN wants to use AI to censor people. And then how does AI censorship work? Watch all of these videos. Thanks for tuning in.
And then AI, which is, called it's called the singularity for a reason.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of times people that are in tech are pushing these things forward without any guardrails or consideration, for what could go wrong, despite all the cautionary tales.
How do you regulate AI, for example?
so at least it's known what they're suppressing, and they can't secretly suppress things.
Right. That would be a law that requires open source, that if you're going to censor, you better do it transparently.
Yeah, the thing is that it really doesn't take much to sort of censor something. So there's a lot of censorship that goes on at Google that people don't realize, because all that needs to happen is just move that link to page 5.
Right.
You know, I mean, the thing about the whole joke about Google is like, what's the best place to hide a dead body?
The UN plans to roll out an AI-powered tool that's going to help nations stamp down so-called misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech. Well, we're screwed. Kathy Hochul can deny and defy biology. A professor of biology can get fired for teaching that sex is determined by chromosomes, but the UN and jackasses like Breitbart's going to go out there and investigate your text messages or your tweets and your information pollution and make sure that they, your overseers, the ones with the boot on your neck, are going to make sure that you, yes, a computer, an AI, a machine, an Arnold Schwarzenegger, is going to determine if you're telling the truth. That's what we're coming to, guys.
In late 2016, I became obsessive with the technological side of censorship because Google perspective, there's something called Jigsaw, which was set up essentially by this. It's basically the CIA wing of Google, and in late 2016 they rolled out this AI retail censorship product that worked just like chess computers, and you could go onto it and you could plug in sentences and it would spit out a toxicity score, and you could set confidence intervals for how in their own papers they would describe how useful this tool would be to be able to set confidence levels to automatically pre-censor anything with a confidence level above a 0.85. There's a 0 to 1 scale.
Christmas never ends, the fire, it's been burning bright since the angel choir. Christmas never ends, the fire, a season of joy with hearts inspired. Silent night, jingle bells, carolers with ICLs. Home alone, Grinch scheme, peppermint and snowy dreams. Nutcracker, gingerbread, wreaths and ribbons, velvet red, elf on shelf, Kris Kringle lore, cookies left by every door. Christmas never ends, the fire's been burning bright since the angel choir. Christmas never ends, the fire, a season of joy with hearts inspired. Black Friday, Rudolph's glow, Macy's parade in the snow, shopping malls, Amazon movies like the Christmas Come, Yule log, snowy hikes, 12 days, little tykes, families gather near, spreading Christmas cheer. Icicles, ugly sweaters, cards with cheerful little letters, pine tree bows and string, carolers begin to sing. Starry skies, manger scenes, silver bells and evergreen, gifts exchanged, wishes made, memories that never fade. Christmas never ends, the fire, it's been burning bright since the angel choir. Christmas never ends, the fire, a season of joy with hearts inspired.
He's got the story, he's got the fight, bringing you the truth, day and night, for liberty's sake, we're taking flight, go right with Peter Boykin, it's feeling right, go right, go right, go right news, with Peter Boykin, we're making moves, freedom and liberty, always on the rise, tune into the truth and open your Peter Boykin, we're making moves. Freedom and liberty, always on the rise. Tune in to the truth and open your eyes.
Welcome back to hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin. This is our viral video roundup and our hashtag Go Right recap. So just one video today. New York City Mayor Eric Adams disclosed in a video that federal assistance for handling illegal immigration ceased after he publicly criticized the Biden administration's policies. This revelation points to the political repercussions of challenging federal policy on such a sensitive issue. And remember, they went after him too, tried to get him in trouble in court. Watch as New York City Mayor Eric Adams reveals Biden stopped helping with illegals when he spoke up. Watch this video. We'll be right back with the recap.
What was the reaction that you got at the White House when you asked for help?
When we saw the numbers coming in, we were getting at one time almost 8,000 a week, 16,000 every 2 weeks. I mean, we could just do the math, unsustainable. And at that time, the right to shelter, we were being sued by advocates that required us to give everyone a bed by a certain number of times. We were getting buses 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. And we reached out to the White House, 10 trips to Washington, D.C., asking them for help in securing the border and stopping this flow. I went down to El Paso and also went down to the Darien Gap, and I saw the flow and the threat that we were receiving. We didn't get the support. We got $200 million out of a $6.5 billion deficit. And so many people believe that, okay, Eric, it's in your rearview mirror. It happened already. You got 170,000 out. No, the damage that we are going to see long term from spending $6.5 billion. $200 million could have gone to those chronically absent children. We could have put hundreds of millions of dollars into the senior care, helping people with medical debt relief. So when you start to look at the long-term impact of the services we did not provide, it's going to start materializing in the years to come. That is the destruction that I was talking about.
So when you had that pushback from the White House, they stopped returning your phone calls?
Prior to this crisis, I asked the president to come to New York City when we were having a crime problem, the gun problem. He came here and met with our law enforcement. We had a continuous conversation with the White House on these important issues. When this issue happened and we asked for assistance over and over again, and I refused to remain silent while I was watching this city harm, we no longer received the support that we deserved. We no longer had an opportunity to communicate with the president. It was a clear statement from the White House that they didn't appear to be happy that I was standing up for the city. And other mayors should do that. Look at what happened in these other cities: Chicago, Denver, Los Angeles, Houston. Cities should not be taking away the resources from their residents to handle a national crisis.
Welcome back. This is the hashtag Go Right Recap Remix. Welcome back to hashtag Go Right, where we've just explored some critical developments in our constitutional republic. Here's your quick recap. Trump and Musk blow up Speaker Johnson's spending bill for good reason. A massive spending bill collapsed under scrutiny with from Donald Trump and Musk and conservative lawmakers, highlighting issues like excessive spending, self-serving provisions, and potential censorship. Republicans also announced a last-minute funding deal to stave off a shutdown, but unclear if it can pass. I don't think it did. After rejecting the initial bill, a new funding plan was proposed, but its success is uncertain. They'll get back to the drawing board, and hopefully they'll spend Christmas trying to keep our government going, but who knows? Meanwhile, they're complaining about pay raises for Congress. This monster CR bill has the political right up in arms. This contentious issue for congressional pay raises amidst a spending bill has ignited debate. Meanwhile, AOC responds after surprisingly kind comments from Donald Trump. She says, it's bad when even Donald Trump is feeling bad for me. Trump's unexpected sympathy for AOC's leadership loss reveals complex political dynamics within the Democrat Party. Meanwhile, Fani Willis is dismissed, but her case staggers on. Can her zombie prosecution of Trump survive? The disqualification of Willis over a conflict of interest leaves Trump's Georgia case in limbo with a new prosecutor to be appointed. Meanwhile, U.S. report reveals a push to weaponize AI for censorship. A report suggests the government is using AI to suppress free speech, urging for legislative action to protect our First Amendment rights. This week has been a lot. This day has been a lot, but it's been a testament to the challenges facing our republic, from legislative transparency to judiciary integrity and the safeguarding of our constitutional rights in their digital age. For more in-depth analysis, you can keep up with these stories and more. Visit GoRightNews.com. You can also catch us on Rumble, Spreaker, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, X, Twitter. Support our mission to maintain freedom in our republic by donating to Cash App at $ Peter Boykin, the number 1. All links are available at peterboykin.com and GoRightNews.com. So remember, folks, let's stay vigilant and informed and keep our constitutional republic strong. Remember to go right. God bless everybody. Peace. Remember, we fight for what's right because it's time to go right.
Time to go right. Time to go right. Time to go right.